Hi, I'm Paula Shepherd, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
This is it. It's this show. Welcome back. Another episode of ResultsLeader.fm. So glad that you are here. And we are the only show on the planet dedicated to the men and women who are getting results for their clients. Today, we have communications and leadership coach, team building expert, Miss Paula Shepherd, joining us to talk about results. Let's jump in. Paula, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
Let's do this.
Let's give our listeners a quick win, something that they can do right now. Would you share with us what book you have given most as a gift?
The book that I've given most as a gift is Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements.
That's a popular one. That's one that I need to go back and read. I think I've heard it about 2 or 3 times in the last couple episodes.
It's
cool.
A quick read.
Yeah, very quick read. All right, The Four Agreements. Now it is time for a story. Tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success.
Okay. For me, that would have to be, honestly, isn't really even my business necessarily. Is that okay? Is it okay for me to be a life thing that I apply to business?
Even better.
Fantastic. So I had gotten divorced and I had children, and I did not want to live where I lived anymore. But the challenge was, of course, I had children and I had an ex, and I wanted to move across the country from Maryland to Texas. Now, at the time, single mom, had a good job, did not have a giant savings account. I had gone through all of the particulars with finances with divorce and had to convince him that this was a good thing for us to do together, but separately. And at the same time, I had a job that I could not transfer with into the new state that I was moving in. It just wasn't possible because of the nature of the job that I did. And so I just started putting myself out there. I started telling everyone that I was moving. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had absolutely no idea. I just knew that I wanted it so bad that I could taste it. I thought about it all the time. My kids were going to school telling people, we're moving to Texas in June. And we were, but I still had no idea how I was going to finance it. I had no idea what that move was going to look like. And I had no idea what my job was going to be. So I did wind up convincing my ex-husband that we should move and that this would be a really great opportunity for him, and used what I now see as persuasion and sales savvy and coaching to get him to see the potential in the move. And we did. In June of 2013, we moved together on the same day in separate vehicles at different times, but on the same day, to the state of Texas. And so that happened. Now, the coolest thing that happened there too was somehow I wound up finding money. It just kept coming to me. It kept coming to me magically. And I had enough and more than enough to get the apartment before I moved. I still didn't have a job. I had no clue how it was coming, and I was just grateful that it was. And then my job, magically, there happened to be an office for my company that I didn't know about. And while they weren't hiring, I knew someone and said, hey, I don't want to leave this company. How can I stay here? And that person knew someone who said, let's not let her go from the company. Let's not let this person leave. Let's figure something out for her. And they created a job for me. And so I started this journey at the end of January 2013. And I moved at the beginning, June 2nd of 2013, to Texas with a job, with plenty of money in my bank account, more than I had when I was living in the state of Maryland. And my kiddo's dad was also living here. And so everything that I had imagined and didn't know how it was going to happen 5 months earlier manifested itself for me because I wouldn't let it go.
What did you learn from that experience?
I learned a lot about joy, trust, and surrender. And by that, I mean, I wanted that so bad. I could feel it. I could see it. I could taste it. I could imagine myself being there. And I didn't know the how, but I was willing to let go of the how and the control, which was very difficult because I'm a type A personality. So figuring out the how, the particulars of what it's going to look like and all the nuts and bolts and the gears and how they all fit together was something that I always did from a state of control to get to the end state. And I learned in this, and I have so many other stories that are very similar to this, that when I could just trust, even when it didn't seem like there was enough time, enough money, enough opportunity, that if I wanted it bad enough, that it was already mine.
Something about this just rings faith. Like you got to have faith to me. And so how do you go from that? Because I'm with you. I'm type A also. How do you go from that I need to control everything and that closed fist to the open palm of surrender and the idea of letting it be? How did you make that switch? Because that's a very difficult switch.
Yeah. And I will be very honest when I say, because I'm an inherent, we'll call me a control freak, but I like to make things happen. I mean, who doesn't like to make things happen? That's what society says. That sometimes I go back to that. And I always, always, always have to pause. And it is so uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to sit still. It is uncomfortable to trust. It is uncomfortable to just be with your emotions. It is uncomfortable. But in that discomfort comes self-awareness. When I push, when I move, when I grind, when I hustle, I bypass all of those emotions. And as a leader, for me, one of the most important things is having that ability to be radically responsible, which requires me to have a level of self-awareness. Well, I cannot be self-aware from a state of constant action and motion. And it is difficult in a very masculine world where business is work harder, go bigger. If something isn't working, you have to do more, you have to talk to more people. It's so easy to get sucked into that when the reality is, when I always look back at my genesis, when I look at where I started and where I came from, every job I've ever had, every opportunity that's ever come to me, every business, every client that's ever come my way has always been a result of something that had nothing to do with any bit of control that I tried to exert on it.
What would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
Man. Oh, I've made so many. I've spent so much money on investments. I would say none of them are, as sometimes we say they're bad, but then they're never bad because we always learn a lesson from them, even if they're collecting proverbial dust on our desktop, on our computer. I think the best investment that I've ever made was on a coach who is an empath and a highly sensitive and works with highly sensitive individuals. She's more of a spiritual coach. She takes a more feminine approach to business. And that has made all the difference for me. It forces me with kindness, love, and some directness to sit my butt in the chair and be quiet for a minute.
How'd you figure out you needed a coach? Because when I think of people in jobs, I often think that they have a different mindset where they wouldn't hire a coach or they wouldn't hire a consultant, whereas entrepreneurs would. So how do you figure out you need a coach? And then how do you go about picking one?
So I think entrepreneurs are blessed in a way because we're constantly being pelted with the message that you can't do it by yourself and you need help and, invest in yourself. So we buy into the propaganda. I mean, that's really what it is. As someone who spent 2 decades in corporate America, I never would have invested in myself in that way. All of my money would have gone to my children. That was the right thing to do. And I think most of that is changing the messaging, helping people to see, maybe tap into some more personal development so that the messages they hear are different than what society is telling them or where their job is, what those people are telling them, because we have to surround ourselves with different messages in order to start to believe them, right? If I'm sitting in my cubicle or I'm sitting in my office every single day and someone is telling me that I'm worthless and I do a terrible job, I'm going to start to believe that about myself. But if I put myself in a space, if I genuinely want to put myself in a space where it's maybe a podcast in my ears that I'm hearing every time I take a walk in the morning, I'm gradually going to start to believe something better about myself. So do you want to do it all by yourself? As a parent, do you want to do it all by yourself? Or would it be nice to have somebody in your corner? I love this because the people I work with are confident people that need a space, right? To just break down. And we don't give ourselves that because society is saying that we need to do things, we need to be independent. But as a human being, I'm not an entrepreneur because we all get this. It is your inherent right to be assertive and to ask for what you need and to advocate for yourself. Particularly parents can understand this. We're always advocating for our children. We're going to mama bear or papa bear it. But what about us? Because without us and us being in the right state of mind and us having the support that we need, we're not able to support other people. So listen to the podcast, grab a book, find a friend, find a group of people that believe the same things and want that potential for them too. You don't have to go it alone. And so that would be my message to them is, if you don't think you can afford a coach right now, start small until you gain that momentum in your mind and you believe that you're worth it.
This is why I like you. I wrote an article with the similar thing.
Oh,
right?
really?
Elevate your environment. Get around better thinking, whether it's a podcast or a library book, free library book, or you can invest in courses or eventually masterminds and a coach and consultant. But start where you can. Know that there's a different direction and tap into that.
Yes.
So I dig it. What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
You have to have a website. You need to have the email list. You need to have the YouTube channel. You have to be on Instagram. You got to be on this place. You have to be on social media to run a successful business. Anything that anybody is trying to tell you that doesn't bring you joy or make you feel expansive, then stop listening to it. Unsubscribe, walk away from it until you know yourself and you can make choices that work for you, because the most successful people that I've ever seen in business that I admire are people who did it their way.
I think that is going to make a nice audio clip for us. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a public service announcement. We're going to get right back into this show, but I wanted to ask you a question. If you have been listening to the show for any amount of time and you've picked up even one single tip, then I need your help. Get the word out. Tell people about resultsleader.fm. Share it on social media. Share it on your email. Share it anywhere. Hashtag resultsleaderfm. Now let's jump back into the interview. So let's talk about results. Paula, why do results matter?
Well, results are an indicator. First of all, you can't have a result if you don't know what you're measuring, right? So let's just back it up right there. You can't have a result without knowing what you're measuring. And sometimes that measure is understanding what you value and what success looks like, because otherwise you may be achieving results that are unattainable for you. So I'm trying to find the best and the easiest way to explain this. If I'm chasing something and I want to make 6 figures this year, I want to make multiple 6 figures, or I want to be a millionaire, or we're making that so external to ourselves, and the results don't inherently align with who we are at our core, then they're meaningless. So results are important because they're a measure of your success based on your own personal definition. And you're able to see where you've been and how you've grown, because we so often will cast it aside. Oh yeah, I did that. On to the next thing. Particularly if you're type A, go-getter, high achiever, right? You're on to the next thing and you're like, yeah, I celebrated that for 35 seconds. Now what's next? What's next? What's next? So having those results allows you the time, the capacity to slow down, look at them, see where you've come and say, okay, do I need to move the target someplace else? Do I need to pivot someplace else? Do I need to focus? Do I need to go inward? I could go on and on forever, but I think the results are only important if you've defined what success looks like for you.
Powerful. In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
That often it has nothing to do with the money. They say they want more money. They say they want more success, but ultimately what they're looking for is internal peace. They're looking for more time to spend with their family. They want to be more in the moment. They want to spend more time living and less time working. They want to let go of the hustle. So the most important thing is, and it's not sexy, right? It doesn't sell. It doesn't sell as readily as it would, maybe in some environments, but not for most, that it's not about the money. It's always about the sense of internal peace and feeling like they're not living in their business or living their business.
How do you build that bridge? It's true. You have to sell what people want and then give them what they need. How do you build the bridge from, yeah, you want $1 million, but really all you need is 100,000 and a bunch of time off and you're happy? Well, how do you get them from where they are to where they actually need to be?
I create a process where they have to start where I start them, right? If you're not willing to begin at the beginning, then I'm not willing to work with you. That's just the reality of the situation. And so for every single person, it's defining who they are, which seems easy, but most people can't do it. Most people can't describe themselves in 5 words without saying who they are to someone else.
Why not?
They haven't spent enough time learning who they are. They're being a different person in every space they occupy. They're not authentic. They think they are, but they don't know who they are. They know who they are as an employee. They know who they are as a wife. They know who they are in the grocery store or with their friends or at the PTA meeting, but it's a slightly different version of themselves everywhere they go. And when they have to really think about, when I think about myself and what qualities I embody, what are those? And then looking at our values and when name their values. And then I ask them how they're living those and they see the vast disconnect. It's so eye-opening and it completely changes the trajectory. Most of my clients come to me and we wind up talking about relationships. We wind up talking about their relationship with their kids or their relationship with their spouse or with their boss, or it never winds up being, let's just scale your business and get in there. Now, I'm sure that there are people that I could call in like that, but the people that I work with, they know from the very beginning, I'm very honest, that you have to be willing to start at the beginning. This is not a college course. We are not in a hurry. This is going to take time, and it's going to be a lifetime evolution of who you are becoming.
What area of your business would you like better results?
What area of I think this is the hardest question. What area of my business would I like better results? I'd like to see results off of the online space. I'd like to see, I've spent so many years, I've spent the last couple of years in my business outside of corporate working from home, which felt like a joy, right? But being able to build that same momentum and success and connection. When I say success, I mean connection in my local community, which I've not been able to do because of the pandemic. So I'd love to see better results with me being able to impact my local community.
Why is your local community so important to you?
This is where I live. I don't want to live in this home office. I don't want to sit in this space all the time. I want to be around people. I think there's this, yes, I've reached people globally. That's amazing. But if I'm walking around and I don't even know who I'm bumping into, if I'm just putting my head down and I'm working here and then I go to the grocery store and I put my headphones in and I don't speak to anybody and I don't make a difference in somebody's life here in the community that I'm in, then where's the nucleus of the ripple? Where is it? Is what I'm doing, I can't really see it coming to life here. And so it's people are people, and there's a different energy when you're seeing people or you're in a room full of people or you're passing them or having a conversation face to face than if you were online doing it.
Yeah, there's definitely a different energy for sure. So what results are you most proud of?
Oh, I think I'm most proud of the fact that I've been able to help so many people. I was a girl that thought I was going to retire from corporate America working, in the federal tech space. I thought that's what I was going to do. And I think leaving that, having the courage to leave that job, not really knowing what was going to happen, being the breadwinner of the family, holding the insurance, having kids that are school aged, right? All of those things, I think I'm most proud of going first.
Any parting thoughts you want to share with the results leaders who are tuning into us right now?
Yes. So I think we're all in a place, particularly women, because I work with a lot of women who are feeling like they're in this state of recalibrating. Everything that they've done, maybe they've been successful, but you might feel like it's time for you to burn it down or burn down pieces and parts of it. There's this ideal that we're not supposed to quit. But if it doesn't feel right and it doesn't feel aligned, you're not in integrity to continue to offer that to people. So give yourself, like I talked about early in the episode, this power of pausing in the moment and considering what you need to release and what you can continue to do and make decisions from that state of mind instead of from a state of fear and constant motion.
I know our listeners are going to want more. Where can they get more from you?
The best place to find me is on my website, which is thecourageblueprint.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn primarily. And you can find me there if you search Paula Shepherd or Be Fearless with Paula.
Now, you have a podcast, right? This is a podcast.
Oh, yeah, I do. Thank you. I always forget about that because I'm like, you can find that on the website too. I do have a podcast. It's called The Confidence Sessions. And there are some great solo episodes, some short bite-sized pieces, and also some amazing inspirational folks that I love amplifying their voices. So go check that out. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple. It's also available on my website. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, Amazon, you can find it. It's The Confidence Sessions.
And we will be sure to link to everything in the show notes. Thank you so much, Paula, for hanging out with us. And thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. Another episode is in the can. That is a wrap for another edition of resultsleader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to resultsleader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.